answers. And if you would like to ask something, please check the document and be sure that this question was not asked before. So we expect some creative questions, and yeah, feel free to ask whatever you want, which is related to xDai and this merger proposal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. I joined today on behalf of the GNO community and on behalf of Gnosis leadership, and I just want to emphasize that we take concerns very seriously. We've been working with Igor and his team for the last couple of months to come up with this proposal, and we hope, of course, that we can address all concerns and that this ultimately should be a win-win situation for everyone. And I hope we can today answer the most burning questions together.
Thank you, guys. I think we can start with the first question in the chat, which is is there a snapshot date set? As it was outlined in the proposal itself, there are 3 weeks for discussion, and then there will be a 1 week for the signaling snapshot vote. So it is not set, but since the proposal itself was posted on November 8th, you can 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will most likely is coming early December.
This was asking about the snapshot poll for GNO token holders or stake token holders.
For the stake token holders, you can comment on behalf of the GNO.
Yeah. So for Gnosis token holders, there's also a formal governance process in 3 stages. The first stage has been entered right now, which is a more informal discussion. Then a signaling if there should be a vote on this discussion, and then ultimately a snapshot poll where a quorum has to be reached. And I hope we can do this within the next also 2 weeks or so. And then we will have a clear signal from the GNO token holder community.
Thank you. When it comes to the second question, how does Gnosis plan to work with existing xDai chain protocols moving forward? I think this has already been planned in the proposal itself as well when talking about the potential future GNO incentives, which will be allocated to the wide variety of the projects. So I think all well-known and established xDai project will benefit from this. So I think they can expect a lot of new liquidity users and usage coming.
Yeah, no, I think we want to do a lot more than this. I know in the proposal it's mostly about allocating 400,000 GNO for different sorts of incentive programs on top of the current xDai chain. But I think there's a lot more value we can bring to this chain, especially the network that we've been building over the last 5 years. We can leverage to get a lot more activity. So, for example, even now at a stage where this proposal has obviously not passed and there's quite some uncertainty, we have been starting to talk to a lot of teams about this potential move. And so we talked to MakerDAO, to the growth team of MakerDAO, of how they can support xDai in terms of fiat on-ramps, in terms of getting maker vaults on top of xDai. I talked with Etherscan on how we can get Etherscan on this chain, and we also talked to existing debt developers on how can we keep them on this chain. You probably know that the PrEP protocol, Perpetual Swap, is currently the biggest user of block space on xDai, and we think they are super, super important. They're currently considering leaving xDai actually to Arbitrum. And this is also because Uniswap version 3 is deployed on Arbitrum. And now, of course, this week I will try to talk to Uniswap and understand what can we do to keep Uniswap on this chain, or get Uniswap v3 on this chain and make sure that perpetual swap can continue operating here. We talked to POAP to make sure they can continue working on this chain. We are also doing investments right now into different DeFi protocols. And right now, obviously, for us, like one major discussion point in those potential investments is on what kind of chain are you going to deploy? Because for most, Ethereum is not really possible anymore. And for us, it's very important that they're open for deploying on xDai. And it seems this is possible. So I expect that a lot of the investments, a lot of the groundwork we're currently doing will ultimately end up in increased usage on the xDai chain. So this is not like another like Gnosis investment where we just deploy some capital, but this is like a much bigger effort. We try to utilize all the networks we've been creating over the last couple of years to bring the most value to this chain. And this is also on a protocol level itself. Obviously, we have been also involved in developing this Open Ethereum client, which we unfortunately had to stop developing. Igor fortunately took it over, but we have been still involved in other developments on the Aragon client. And I've been talking to Alexei, who was leading this project, on how can we potentially make this the main client for this network, and how can we benefit from all the research and development has been put into this network, into this client. And he's also very open to collaborate on this. So I think this goes way beyond just exchanging stake for GNO or deploying for 100K GNO. This is about really getting a lot of adoption for this network and move all parts together. Like, I think ultimately the reason why network is important is because of network effects. And I think xDai has been doing great in the past on getting like organic growth, but in order to make it really important chain, we have to do a lot more. And I think this is something we are much more likely to succeed when we do it together.
Yeah, I would like to add, thank you for the great comment. I would like to add that with Open Ethereum, for example, so for now it's the main client for xDai chain, and after you started to support it, and for people who don't know, Parity Technologies, who originally created this client, they stopped to support it quite a while, right? And the Gnosis team supported this client and brought it to this state where it is right now, where it's a stable client supporting the latest Ethereum improvements, and that's the latest client for that we're using right now, right? So just imagine that we didn't have a partnership a year ago. That's possible that we couldn't get the state of Open Ethereum there it is right now. Definitely your involvement with Aragon is very important because when we think about migrating to ETH2, having Aragon client as an execution engine is very important because that's one of the best EVM execution engine available now. And we had, I think, significant value of having Aragon as execution engine. First of all, it can be more efficient than Go Ethereum and other clients implementation, so we can beat in throughput other competing EVM chains. And secondly, it's very important from the state storage perspective. That's one of very important parts of this partnership for us. That first of all, you had Open Ethereum client supported after Parity discontinued it for a while, and when we took it, so we just had to make minor changes to London implementation to have this mechanism of when stable token is burned, that it's accumulated in a separate account to be used for the protocol needs. And those changes are very small comparing to the work that you did to give us this client and all the changes required for London and before the Berlin hard fork. Otherwise, we had to kind of implement it ourselves or migrate to another client, but it's not 100% ready for production usage on our validators, and Open Ethereum is still the main client. I think we can answer the question about EAP 1559. If it's Moimir, what do you think? I think it's good time to talk about burning.
Yes, I think it's a great time to talk about burning since we have EAP 1559 activated on xDai for 3 days now, and we can already see some first results from the xDai burning. I will shortly post the Dune dashboard into the chat. You can now talk more about it, Igor.
Yeah. So far we don't have results that community expected from the burning of xDai. So far it's less than one xDai on xDai and billions on Ethereum. Is because 1559 was designed for Ethereum mainnet, right? So on mainnet we didn't expect that blocks will be half empty or even less. So what is known as a LSTC point when the protocol is starting to increase base fee is starting at 50% of gas limit usage per block. So on xDai right now it's around 15%. So to start mean base fee increasing based on usage, we need to get this usage, right? And that's a good point of having a strong partnership that we can actually bring projects, incentivize them, build on xDai and so on, right? So there are some artificial way how we can increase this base fee. So for example, we can set up a floor, we can modify 1559 and add some minimum floor for this burn token. Let's say set it to, for example, Tengway. We had this proposal implemented on the testnet, but it's not the best way to work with projects. Like, okay, we don't have enough projects to fill blocks. Let's just make it more expensive to people who are using the network, right? So the better way will be, okay, can we get more projects building on xDai, incentivize them? As you can see in the past, we had this, for example, with Dark Forest, when we had playrooms of Dark Forest that used to be full blocks, and we know that it's possible, and definitely that's a way of growing the protocol and putting money earned by the protocol into the staking ecosystem, right? So far, expectations about 1559 are not satisfied, and we don't see how they will be satisfied in the near future because we need to work more on adoption. As Stefan mentioned, talking with projects which used to build on xDai and probably can build on xDai, you can see clearly that like in very short period of time, like in a half year, the Ethereum ecosystem became multi-chain, right? And to build for multi-chain, projects going to protocols where they have better incentives, right? It's not about it's not only about which tooling is available, but it's also required to have some tooling like Etherscan and some API endpoints and so forth, but also where liquidity is deployed. And if we think about partnership with Gnosis, this liquidity is actually can come on a much bigger scale that we can have within the stance where we are right now, right? And when we think like, how can we bring new projects? The second question that we should ask ourselves, like, how to keep projects which are already building to stay on xDai. I see some people here in the chat, for example, from OneHive and the community around them. So they want to move to Arbitrum for a while, right? So now they're saying like, okay, like why we're doing this and that. But we know that you guys want to move to Arbitrum for a while, and you don't like bridges, you don't like this and that. We're trying to build, from the technical perspective, we're trying to build tools which will help you stay. But we also need to think, okay, so if people are moving, how to make what we have right now interesting for them to participate in multi-chain environment. And the best way here is provide incentives and have these incentives comparable with other chains, right? So at the end of the day, most people migrating from chain to chain only for very simple reasons, right? So they want to get upsides on more opportunities. How to say? Okay, I'm done with this question. Sorry, it's too long. But by the way, if someone wants to participate as a speaker and vocalize your feedback, we can try to get someone from community into the room.
Yes, as I wrote already in the chat, if someone wants to enter and speak, just tag me there. I can see a question: what's happening with the stake Bitcoin chain? Will GNO be used instead of stake? Yes. I think this was already in the proposal. The idea is to replace the initially proposed 32 stake with the 1 GNO token. So, and since the stake Bitcoin chain was not launched yet, it is not impacting its launch. I can also see question: what is the lowest gas price now? I think if you want Igor to highlight how the London, if this impacted the gas prices on xDai from a technical standpoint. Okay. And so let me go back. Sorry guys, so many questions in the chat. It's hard to keep up. I can see two good questions from our friends over at DAO House. So I will read them and then we can go back to them. What is the long-term outlook for Gnosis Beacon chain and its chart chains, including xDai? For example, what is the place in a world with Ethereum 2 data availability shards supporting super cheap and highly scalable full EVM ZK rollups? So there is a side note. This is related to DAO houses. We make decisions about where to focus our long-term development resources, liquidity, and ecosystem projects. I think if you, Igor and Stefan, can answer this, since I'm not a developer myself, that would be great.
I'm not sure, Igor, if you want to go first, of course you can.
No, I just answered, so it's I think it's a good time for you to answer if you want.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we cannot really, of course, like precisely predict the future. I think what we have seen, or if we look just at how the state is today of layer 2, then it's pretty obvious that layer 2 right now is not yet a scalability solution. It makes gas costs like a little bit cheaper, but not as significantly that it really is a great solution for many dApps to migrate. So even the protocols that we just mentioned that are on xDai today, that are currently considering moving to Arbitrum, see gas costs on Arbitrum as a very big issue. And this is because I think Arbitrum, as well as Optimism and other layer 2s right now, they still have to use Ethereum as the data availability solution, which makes it quite costly. So as of today, I think, the more like accessible solutions are still other chains like xDai right now, like Polygon. And I think for the time being, we will see those networks getting or keeping adoption. And of course, in parallel, you will see some applications trying out Arbitrum and Ethereum mainnet. But I could also see that some of them actually try those first on like side chains like xDai. Igor has already deployed Arbitrum actually on xDai, which I think is a very nice experiment. So I think for the time being, I'm not very concerned that other layer 2s will take a lot of the market share that potentially side chains can have. And ultimately, networks are about network effects. And if you're able to create very strong network effects on your chain, then it makes leaving very, very hard. And so, I think we have a very good chance in creating like a very successful network. I think also I don't really like to see it competitively to Ethereum. I actually like to see it more as synergy with Ethereum. So the way how we see xDai going forward is to be an Ethereum frontrunner, where you can try new technologies first. So as we are going to launch the beacon chain, we are also trying to actually do the merge before Ethereum will actually do this. And as such, it should allow to test network updates on a smaller, maybe less important network as Ethereum first, and also just allows to do more experimentation. We see it kind of in parallel to what Kusama is. Kusama is to Polkadot. This chain could become to Ethereum. And so far, the responses from Ethereum developers have been very positive. Vitalik himself, he reached out to us on our Discord because he was very excited about an idea that Igor proposed about how we could build trustless bridges between Ethereum and xDai. And also Ethereum 2 developers that we talked to about this idea are very, very excited, because right now they have some test networks, obviously, but they don't really allow to test everything under realistic economic situations. So something like, for example, ERP 1559 would have been much better tested on a network like xDai, but there was nothing available that actually had real economic value being transacted on a test network. So I think there's a very good spot to take for xDai going forward.
Yeah, I would like to add that this approach of becoming Kusama for Ethereum is very attractive for many competitors. Many projects are actually trying to build this narrative. It's not simple, and even for us, if we want to follow this narrative, we should change how xDai is operating and how we're working with ETH2 clients and the EVM execution engines, because for now our main concern when we putting stuff in production is about security and not about like making better for Ethereum. But if we want to be a sister chain for Ethereum and be what Stefan is suggesting as like staging environment, a network where updates can be tested before deploying on mainnet and making the merge before the mainnet, then we should change our internal processes and basically restructure xDai development to be more agile and kind of not less concerned about security, but having different angle on security, right? How can we put stuff in production which is going to work securely, but also how can we make it the way that we can install it on xDai before mainnet, and if something goes wrong, it doesn't affect security in a catastrophic way, but in a way when let's say some operations can be resumed over time, just like Tron or EOS or Solana stopped at some time, right? Because they had some network updates which affected reliability of the network, but it didn't affect the security of funds on the network, right? So we should think about something like that. And it's not an easy task to do. But the narrative of being Kusama for Ethereum is very sweet, and definitely we want to try to achieve it. And to have this narrative not in our heads, but in heads of the community, we need to be more involved with community, right? And if we think about xDai in the current stage, it's kind of hard to achieve, right? With Gnosis as one of the oldest OG team in Ethereum space, that's definitely a better company to achieve this this goal.
Thanks. Go ahead, Igor.
No, I just wanted to ask for the next question.
Yeah, I think for the next question can be the one which is repeating in the chat a lot, and it is about the swap ratio and the swap price and why it has been set as it is.
Yeah, so actually, I think Igor initially suggested this. So maybe you want to talk first, otherwise can briefly comment. So yeah, I mean, obviously you have to somehow derive at the price, and the kind of obvious price would be to take the current price, and you could of course argue, yeah, I should take maybe 2 weeks swap or maybe 4 weeks swap. It kind of, I think what the stake community kind of assumes is that they're, that this time frame has been not very favorable for stake, and that stake is undervalued, and should take another time frame to decide on what the value of stake is. I can only kind of reflect on what the value for, or how GNO should be valued. I personally would definitely also argue, obviously, that GNO is currently undervalued. Actually, it is even trading still under book value. So book value being the total assets that are controlled by GNO token holders, worth more than the market capitalization of GNO itself. And this doesn't even take anything into account that we have been working on over the last couple of years, which is now mostly resulting in two main products that we've been building. One is CowSwap, which is a very popular exchange, decentralized exchange, with insane growth right now. It's growing almost 80 to 100% every month. And the Safe, which is the default storage solution for assets on any EVM network, currently controlling over I think $110 billion worth of assets on Ethereum alone, also becoming kind of the default for DAO frameworks. And those projects now are in the process of being spun out of Gnosis. They will launch their own token. And obviously, as everything has been built by using resources initially provided by GNO token holders, GNO token holders will receive a big stake in those projects. So right now there's a proposal for CowSwap, and as part of this proposal, about 20% of the tokens will be given directly and indirectly to GNO token holders. And for the Safe, it's not that clear yet, because there's not really a clear proposal yet, and they are not as far as the CowSwap team, but I expect something very similar. And so, to anyone who is participating or currently has stake and would eventually convert this in GNO, would also participate in the upside of Gnosis Safe, which I think has obviously enormous potential, as well as CowSwap, which also has enormous potential. And we're currently raising money for the protocol, and it's insanely oversubscribed. And yeah, I would encourage everyone who has a stake to take a look at what's going on with Gnosis right now, and yeah, try to get an understanding of what GNO should be valued at. Again, like just if you look at the book value, then GNO is even based on this undervalued, and that's why I would also consider, yeah, well, we could also wait, let's say, another month or 2 months until CowSwap is released, and yeah, then GNO will trade much higher, and then we can calculate the price. But yeah, we just have to find something reasonable, and I think, again, like Igor suggested it himself, and yeah, I think it's fair for both sides, and I'm also expecting that all of us will be happy at the end. I think we should rather look at the potential, and I think the potential is there. I think once we posted this proposal publicly, we saw also markets reacting to this very, very positively. I think once it became clear that there is a lot of uncertainty around this, the markets equally reacted. But I think if we focus on what we want to build together, then yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone will be happy in the end. And if you just look at the relationship of Kusama to Polkadot, if we can get anywhere close to being this for Ethereum, then I think none of us has to be worried about any price for any of those tokens.
Yeah, thank you. So what I think about this, so swap price is a mechanism of determining value of one token versus another token. So we know that there are not that many mergers happened with tokens in the past. So if you look at the previous one, which kind of well-known Hermes and Polygon, so they had a price determined, as I remember correctly, on 1 day. So there was no swap. So this price theoretically can be manipulated within 1 day, right? If someone knew this news beforehand, I'm not saying that it was manipulated, but it could have been. And also, they didn't have any discussions with community. What they said is that they spoke with different stakeholders of Hermes token, and they understood that they are in favor of this proposal. And okay, so here's the deployment, here's the contract, and the swap happened, right? If you, I don't know if you know or not, but xDai was born from kind of tools developed by POA network, right? And POA, unfortunately, didn't have enough attention as, fortunately for xDai, right? So the POA network and POA token was recently like proposed to merge into stake token. And it also was based on this 14-day swap, but because both tokens are, how to say, not a governance token and not controlled by DAO, it was made in a kind of simpler way. There was an announcement and a swap period and so on, right? So it's quite similar. So far, it's the swap is working. Technically, it works perfect. So it's actually utilizes the same contract as Hermes and Matic and their UI. Thanks to them for open sourcing the technology that they've built. And there are some questions about like mechanics of this swap, but there are not many questions regarding like, is it like fair and so on, right? So why the question, is it fair, is here? Because we open this question for discussions, right? If you ask me, like Stefan has his position, like it's from his perspective, it's fair because he thinks that GNO is undervalued and there are many benefits and so on, right? If you ask me if this exchange rate is fair, I will say no, because there is no fair here, right? There are something that is fair for one group of people, but something that is not fair to other group of people, right? But if you think, is it fair to set like exchange rate as a swap with 14 days? Yeah, that's relatively fair, right? And if you ask, like, okay, maybe it should be increased or decreased, maybe it should be 7 days or 30 days. That's good things to discuss before it became public, right? When it became public and two assets are trading openly on markets, and like one party thinks, okay, let's, some people don't like it, some people like it, let's just change it. That's clearly manipulating of the market. So what I think about this exchange rate, that possibly there are ways how the situation can be mitigated, right? If you look into this from different angles, if community have ideas how this can be mitigated, like if you think that is not fair, but let's propose something fair, let's see, right? But the exchange rate was the idea of making swap and having it in 14 days range and having it based on the proposal day. That was my idea, so I proposed it. Now looking backwards, I think that could have been done better, right? Maybe it should be written. Let's not relatively to date of proposal, but maybe fixed in some point of time, right? Or it can be extended by more days, and maybe some preliminary input from communities and so on. Like Hermes did, right? They said, okay, we're going to announce a merger with another protocol. Even we received a question like, Igor, are you going to get Hermes? And I said, Hermes is bigger than xDai, right? How can we get Hermes, for example? But people started to ask, who is the buyer? So that was in public space, but people didn't know what's the price, and who is the buyer, and so on. And after they said, yeah, that's just terms. You have to accept it. Here we have discussions, right? So we have an AMA, we have this 3 weeks period, we have some snapshot voting. Likely we'll have multiple questions, and you're getting us a very important input. What do you think about this? If you think that it should be like just changed from 14 days to, I don't know, whatever you want to say, yeah, please put arguments on how these concerns about market manipulations and so on can be mitigated when we have this information in the open space. Also, I want to add that we have Andrew, who is a part of xDai team here. I think Andrew can answer kind of the next question. If Andrew or Moimir, do you want to select the next question?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that the top question is interesting, and I appreciate the feedback from the community. As Igor mentioned, there's a lot of different opinions here. It was interesting to see one poll, for example, in the stake community asking, well, how much should we get? 1, 10, 100, 1,000. So it's obviously not an unbiased situation, and one that we're looking at so that it's fair for all. So appreciate the continued discussion, and also, as Igor mentioned, putting in some reasoning there so that we can continue to discuss as a community. One question just quickly that I saw in the chat was related to 1559, why we're implementing it. And I think the main thing to consider there is we are looking to follow the Ethereum roadmap as closely as possible. So implementing the same hard forks is obviously an important piece of that. And we will see some, as usage grows, there may be some more burning happening. For example, when we've had dark forest rounds running on xDai, we've seen more than 50% blocks filled. And in those types of scenarios, there would be some more burn happening. But overall, yeah, it's going to have a low impact relative to how the chain is now, other than just following the roadmap as we see it. I'm happy to answer the next question, Moimir, or whatever comes next. Thanks.
Yeah, we also had a question regarding the ongoing stake incentives for the various projects on xDai. These include, for example, Agave and the incentives we just launched on the Symmetric, and also the incentives for the alt finance are coming fairly soon, I believe in 2 days. And all these incentives are following the KPI model, which was outlined by the community a few months back. Then it received the support that this is the way forward, and currently all these incentives are funded on the monthly basis. So once and if the merge is ongoing, the reward token will also change.
Yeah, so if the merge does happen initially, emissions will continue for the time period. I think right now it's set for 6 months according to the proposal. So stake initiative or stake emissions will continue during that time. There's still plenty of opportunity for incentives for different projects, and as you mentioned, it'll be on a month-to-month basis, basically, where stake incentives will still be available for different farming opportunities, DeFi platforms, and the like.
Yes, I can also see the question regarding the proposal and existing xDai protocols. I just want to highlight the GNL incentives, which 400K is outlined, which is currently almost $200 million, which were outlined in the proposal, are not meant, of course, only to the native Gnosis products like CowSwap and Safe and others, but to all current and all future xDai-based projects. So yes, this is for everyone. And when it comes to the current campaigns, all this can be adjusted and reflect this. To reflect this.
Yeah, I would like to answer a question about snapshot voting. So on our side, we have several strategies. So holders of stake token, holders of stake token on both chains will participate. Also, for now, there are LPs of Uniswap and SushiSwap participate. Uniswap and then SushiSwap on mainnet, and SushiSwap on xDai. So HoneySwap and Symmetric can be included, but we need to write a strategy for it. So please, if you are from HoneySwap or Symmetric, please ping us about making these strategies. Also, stakers in easy staking and postDAO staking will participate in the snapshot voting. Would like to mention that we will not use what is known as ecosystem fund and snapshot voting. And I don't know about stake accumulated by Gnosis. We can ask Stefan, do they plan to use it? I don't see any kind of reasons why they cannot use it. So they can use it because this stake was acquired through an OTC deal, which we publicly announced in September 2020. And that deal was to make Gnosis a member of governance and invest in the future of xDai. So they can use it for voting, but I don't know about their plans. Stefan, do you plan to use 250K stake that, or maybe more, that you have on the balance, participate in the governance?
Yeah, of course. We like to be active governance participants. So yes, we will vote.
Okay. Yeah, we will not vote with the ecosystem fund. So we'll if you think there are like how can we make this snapshot voting better? Please let us know. Maybe we forget about some strategies. For example, Agave, stake tokens in Agave cannot be used for signaling, but maybe we need to implement it. If you know any other protocols where stake is wrapped or can be used for voting, but it's not used yet, let us know, and we'll try to include the strategies before the voting.
I can see one comment about splitting the current proposal into small proposals. I don't think this will happen. Maybe Stefan Igor can clarify this, but we are definitely thinking about doing the snapshot with multiple questions or doing multiple snapshots to capture the sentiment as good as possible. And I have also been talking about GNO incentives, and I can see some comments about that it would be nice to get more concrete commitment for GNO funds to existing xDai protocols. So I think if you can more talk about this, Stefan. What is the idea how to allocate these 400K GNO for the incentives?
You mean the 400K GNO, how they should be allocated for incentives?
Yeah. What is the idea?
Yeah, okay. So so for us, the most important is to get long-term adoption for this chain, and that's why we would like to not only put TVL into the focus and just create other, let's say, yield farming programs, which will be attractive to, let's say, big whales on Ethereum short term, but we'd like to incentivize users of this chain, which will lead to longer term adoption. So we will spread it a bit further across different protocols. But we also have like a team actually at Gnosis, which is specialized on yield farming. Given the treasury size that Gnosis has, it is extremely profitable and allows us to have a bigger leverage. And this team obviously knows very well how different incentive schemes work and which can be applied to which kind of use case. And so we will work together with this team to define on how exactly we want to incentivize usage and where money is best spent.
Yeah, I would like to add that this new structure can make xDai, well, future Gnosis chain more like a DAO than it is right now, right? And also bring not only new liquidity, but also like new people who can manage this liquidity and also work with other how to say projects to make it better, right? Because if you look into success story of different EVM chains, there are some patterns, and these patterns are can be applied in our case as well, right? But to apply these patterns, we'll need kind of new people who know how to work with these patterns, right? And that's the purpose of this new unit to apply same patterns used by other successful EVM chains to boost network usage, bring projects, bring blue chip products, and so on. Moimir, please select the next question.
Yes. I have seen a lot of here in the channel, also in the past discussions, a lot of questions about GNO GNO supply, which is currently not circulating, and I've also seen some comments from Martin that it would be maybe possible to burn this. burn the supply, so decreasing the total amount of GNO. So Stefan, if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, so in total there are 10 million GNO in existence, out of which 1.5 million are currently in circulation. And as part of this potential merger, about 300,000 GNO would be used to allow the conversion of stake to GNO, so bring it up to 1.8 million. And then, as we mentioned in this proposal, 400,000 GNO should be used to incentivize adoption of this chain, which would bring it up then to like 2.2 million GNO. And obviously then there's still a lot of GNO left in the treasury, which currently is not used, and there's also no clear path of how it should be used. Obviously there's one more thing, which is rewards being paid out as part of the beacon chain. For this, some GNO has to be reserved as well. But for the biggest part, right now there's no clear perspective of how it can be used. I think burning all of the remainder is something we also shouldn't do. We should also give ourselves more flexibility to use GNO, to maybe use also more GNO to incentivize usage of the chain, to do token swaps with other projects we want to align with. But it's also pretty clear that we don't need another like 7 million GNO ever. And I think it makes sense to make a reasonable proposal to burn the majority of it, to give more certainty to investors how this GNO should be used. And I expect this to be hopefully done also very, very soon.
Thank you. I can see a couple of questions regarding the team and the core xDai developers. So I just want to note that this proposal is for the token merger, and the team is staying, and the current roadmap with mainly with the stake beacon chain will continue to be followed, and the team will stay even after the potential merge. So there is nothing changing there.
Yeah, I would just add that not only is the core team planning to stay, but more team members will be added as a result of this. And that includes client developers, people in product management, other things, to create a more comprehensive environment. xDai has always been very focused from a technical perspective, but being able to expand this into other directions and adding more team members will hopefully help with growth quite a bit. I would also mention that just in the past several months, we've been adding additional members and developers, so that's helping us to continue with development.
I can also see the question, when will the swapping contract start? As we already mentioned, we're currently in the 3 weeks for the discussion, so 2 weeks left. Then the signaling snapshots vote will follow. It is possible that there will be multiple of them, and then the team will work on the swapping contract if the proposal is supported.
About snapshot voting, will be great to get. We have some ideas what we are going to ask in the snapshot voting, but if you like as a community want to have specific questions asked you during this snapshot voting, please send your ideas. So it's not going to be like one question like, do we do merge or not? It's very likely will be several questions, and we'll try to get the picture like what stakeholders think about this and what should be the next step. There is some uncertainty what is going to be after the snapshot voting. It's not 100% clear how to go further. Technically speaking, the swap contract can be deployed without any permission of any stakeholder, and it only requires a JNO token to put in, right? And after that, any stakeholder can exchange it. So technically, there are no limitations over the snapshot voting, right? But we definitely want to keep all the concerns and all the suggestions what community propose in consideration. And one of the outcome of the snapshot voting is that merge contract is deployed and everything is going as it proposed, or it can be go another route, right? For example, more discussions and finding of different ways, right? So we don't have the clearly defined path after the snapshot voting. That's one of the reasons why we do AMA, to get your questions and get your concerns and basically listen to what you think. By the way, Uliana joined us. She's a product manager for xDai team, and maybe you want to say something about future of xDai as a product-oriented company after the merge. Are we going to keep the product that we are working on? What's your
Hi everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight once again that the team will remain autonomous from Gnosis. There will be new teams focusing on business development and marketing, but product team inside xDai will remain the same and will continue to focus on beacon chain and this trustless bridge idea that Andrew and Igor mentioned, which is Ethereum Foundation is interested in. In terms of products within xDai ecosystem, as you may already know, Block Scout now is a separate product, but there are several other products that will continue to be developed in the ecosystem, like bridges, privacy solution we are working on at the moment, and Gnosis will help hiring new talents into those teams. Basically, right now we have 1 or 2 developers working on each product. Hopefully, new teams will be formed to work on the roadmap for each product. So yeah, we are very anxious about having more people on the teams and about the upcoming roadmaps.
Thank you.
I can see
Go
a
ahead.
question in the couple questions related to the branding update, and it's been a bit of a pain point for us. It's been on the table, I believe, since April. We've been working towards the brand update. Uliana, Moimir, and I, along with the Raid Guild team, have all been involved in that. So just an update on that process. It's gone through several iterations. Some members have come and gone from that team, so there's been some shifts there. But again, this was mostly a branding refresh. So I think there were some in the community who felt that we were changing the name, changing the whole direction, similar to what happened with Matic and Polygon. And that was never really the case with this brand update. We are hoping to continue with it, and it's really getting to the final phases right now. So we're hoping that will either inform what happens with this proposed merge, or something else will happen with those assets that have been created. And the Raid Guild team has been doing a fantastic job. So I don't know if either of you had anything to add about that process, but just wanted to give an update there, and we are excited to share some of those things once they're fully available.
Yes, as Andrew said, the rebranding process or brand refresh is ongoing for a long time, but the work is already finished. We have collaborated not only with RateGood but with also with other team, and I think the new situation will need to reflect this, but you can expect in the short future to see some new landing pages for the xDai, for the stake, and some other brand assets as well. I have seen a question popping up repeatedly about renegotiating current going incentive programs. For example, in Agave, swap or symmetrical finance. So I want to say that this is definitely possible, and in case the merge is happening, there is room to go back to the proposal phase and to adjust the proposals, the amounts, the reward token, everything to this. And also there is second part about could the Gnosis now clarify if there is any chance of the staking token being a pool token wrapping both GNO and stake. So Stefan, as a representative from Gnosis DAO.
So as I understand, someone is proposing that we create like a token that would merge those two existing tokens, sort of a third token.
Right.
Well, I think we even were thinking about this in the past, but I think it's easier to at least keep one of those tokens instead of having to do all the effort in terms of listing processes, etc., into like a third new token.
When talking about the tokens, I just want to highlight that the idea is to keep the xDai as the native gas token of the chain, so there wouldn't be any changes there.
Yeah, I also to manage expectations regarding the governance process. Obviously, this has to go through on both sides, stake community, but also the GNO token community. Right now, I'm kind of guessing that the GNO token community is mostly aligned behind this. Of course, we also have to see in our own snapshot poll how it actually plays out. But I also think that any sort of like bigger iterations on these proposals will, of course, delay the entire process quite significantly. And it's also not clear to me. I see quite a few GNO token holders also on this call. How they feel about this going forward. The longer it takes, I think the less likely it's actually going to happen. Also, I think the opportunity window in general to really become this Kusama for Ethereum, this time window is shrinking because there are also other projects trying to do the same. We are not the only one. And at some point, it might just not be very attractive anymore to jump on this train. And that's just something I think everyone who has stake also has to consider. Again, I'm here to talk on behalf of the GNO token community, but I don't own all the GNO, so I cannot decide on by myself. And it has to be something where everyone is happy. Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the community, Moimir? I wasn't sure if anyone was going to ask any specific questions. I know there's a few coming in on the chat. At this point, it seems to mostly be commentary. I haven't seen any additional questions that we haven't addressed yet.
Yes.
Yeah, will be good to have someone from community to say what they think. Maybe someone from One Hive or Agave, Luigi Monstro, Doge King. You know, we'll be happy to hear your opinion, not only in the chat but in a voice channel.
Yes, there is a lot of messages in the chat. If you feel like some questions were not answered, please tag me there. So as Igor said, if someone wants to speak, just tag me and we can add him as a speaker.
So I can see Moimir here is answering a few questions in the chat. One that he already answered is related to room for renegotiating current ongoing incentives. And yes, there's always room for that. We actually have several snapshot proposals out right now on Snapshot. So we encourage you to vote on those as well. It's good practice anyway for this other snapshot proposal. And there is always room for renegotiation regardless of what happens with the timeline for this merge proposal.
Yeah, I would like to ask community, what do you think? Should we make another AMA before the snapshot voting, or we should make one after the snapshot voting? What do you think?
Yes, but a real AMA. I'm not sure what that means exactly. We're here to answer your questions and happy to do so.
Well, maybe they want to say that they want to hear some answers, right? Not maybe answers that we are having on this Ask Me Anything is not enough, right? So that's one of the concerns that we had before this AMA, that people who are going to participate in it expect some answers that cannot be provided as is, right? That's okay. So let's change exchange rate, right? And the AMA cannot lead to this, right? But just discussing it and voting and just participating in community can give some reasoning about the proposal and what should we do next, right?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think, at least from what I can see in the chat, Luigi from Agave would like to speak, but he's looking for a better spot at the moment. So, and Green Hornet, okay, let me add him.
Yep. So having a moderator present questions, I think, is a good idea. We did want to do this one more real time as far as the AMA goes. We did prepare a a document that's been shared a couple of times related to questions that we already received from the community and answered. So if you want to check that out as well, it's a good starting point to understand what some people were questioning before the call.
Yeah. The only comment I really wanted to make about this is like, I've been away for a while, like, so I'm not really too up to speed on exactly what's happening. But the one comment I would like to say is that it seems to me that like there seems to be a problem between how the xDai team communicates with its community, right? Because it seems like a recurring issue that the xDai team seems to be pushing ahead with things like, and like then coming to the community afterwards, and the community is not happy with it, right? So like I've seen comments where some people have made it out like it's just like some small vocal group that's causing problems, but it's genuinely not. Like we're all here, we're all xDai community members. A lot of us are building over here, spend significant time building projects here where we could have been building stuff elsewhere, and it just seems to me that like the way, like for whatever reason, like I'm not saying that that there's any malicious or malintent behind it, but it just seems that there's an overarching problem with the way that the xDai team is communicating with its community. And I think like that is a bit of an issue that somehow, I don't have any answers for it, but somehow that needs to kind of be fixed. Like what do you guys think about that? Guys up here on the stage.
Well, I would say that we are a technical team first, and so that has been a challenge at times to communicate things that need to be communicated. I think in this case, it's difficult because of the potential for manipulation to bring it up too quickly. So it's been a bit of a delicate situation in this case, but I do appreciate the feedback and know that we are trying to be more transparent as much as we can.
But like even on this specific thing though, right? Even on this specific case, like I'm like just like I'm literally catching the tail end of it. So I'm I don't really know exactly what it is, but why would you do something like so on such a short notice? Like what would be the rationale for having like this TWAP for such a short period in the first place? Why wouldn't you do it longer? If like this is something that's been known for a long time ahead, then surely like that just gives the counterparty license to manipulate the process itself, right? Or am I way off here?
Are you speaking about TWAP period, the time frame, or the discussion itself? Well, TWAP period is 14 days, right? And after we have 3 weeks, it's 5 weeks. And snapshot voting, it's 1 more week. It's 6 weeks. So it's not that small time frame from my perspective. What you mentioned in the beginning that was mentioned in an article about hostile takeover that you like voices of community members, like anonymous accounts and so on. That's kind of misinterpretation of what we actually wanted to say initially, right? This clickbait article, you should not reference it as what we think about what our community is, right? So that's why we're here and discussing and want to be here. As I think that 2 weeks TWAP is what we have right now on the plate, right? And also we have this 3 weeks of discussion and 1 week of snapshot voting, and we don't know what is going to be after that, right? So this can be, it's kind of known unknown, right? So we know that something is going to happen, but we don't know exactly what, right? Because if I know what is going to happen, I will say, yeah, in 3 weeks we have a snapshot voting. After snapshot voting, we just see what you guys think, and after we deploy the contract, and we just going on, right? Stake is not a governance token. We got your opinion. Thank you very much. Now let's go to swap tokens. No, it's not like that, right? So we're here, we're discussing, we're listening, we're answering questions, and we're thinking what can be done. So that's the idea, right? I don't want to have this picture that like everything is designed the way to make it as fast as possible in terms which are not beneficial to both sides, right? There can be questions, is it fair or not? We already discussed it, right? So one people think that it's fair, some people think that it's not fair. That's fine, right? That's what we already have on the table. So what we're doing right now, we're discussing, and we have this time to discuss and make some next steps based on the discussion that we have. Luigi, do you want to join the call? So we have 2 community members already. Good to see you here. So do you want to join the voice channel?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
So like I understand that almost everyone wants to talk about the price ratio, but I would also like to ask questions about like this mid process between the transition to the beacon chain and the current POSDAO chain that you're using. And it mostly like the issue we have in Agave right now and other protocols as well is that we are spending a lot of tokens and equity and time providing like heavy incentives to stakeholders, and it doesn't make sense if stake is going to disappear, because we are creating all these incentives to increase the liquidity in the market, to increase the in our case in the lending protocol, like all these deposits, and then staking is just going to disappear. It doesn't make any sense. On top of that, we were forced to match these incentives with our own tokens. So if stake can't go up in price, our own token is being capped in a way, because we can't grow the value of stake with our own incentives if we apply them correctly. So what can we do in these next 4, 5, 6 months to have that flexibility to grow the protocol, grow liquidity? Yeah.
I will answer from my side, and Stefan may add from his side. So just imagine the merge is happening, and we have it as it proposed from the Gnosis side. So most likely for the at least next 6 months or even longer, both tokens will coexist. Liquidity will coexist, and liquidity programs in both tokens will coexist, right? So the current stake incentive program for Agave and some other protocols with Sushi and Curve and then so on will continue to work with stake token. When the new unit on the Gnosis chain starts to work on the incentive program with GNO token, likely these incentive programs will be switched. And we expect that those programs can be in kind of more interesting from both like a liquidity perspective and amount of users they can. Well, it's actually a function of liquidity. If you have more liquidity for incentives, you can serve more users with those incentives, right? So otherwise, if you give a lot of incentives but people cannot liquidate them, it doesn't make sense to give those incentives, right? So this will be a process where incentives will migrate from one token to another naturally, maybe with overlap of like incentives in one token and another. We know that in many protocols, 2 tokens or even more can be incentive tokens. So I definitely can see a picture when, let's say, Agave incentives are incentivized with Agave token and stake token and GNO token in the future, right? Stefan, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Just one more point. Obviously, like the stake token can go up in value. The only thing would be that it would be a very strong correlation between GNO and stake for that time. But yeah, also I just want to emphasize, we appreciate obviously all the dApps that are currently running on xDai, and we would like to support them as much as we can. And if we say that we want to use 400k GNO for increasing adoption, then this is obviously not only for new protocols and new dApps, but also for the existing ones. And yeah, we'll be happy to talk to everyone who's currently running incentive programs to see how we can make them more attractive.
Yeah, so we have a few more community members joined the voice channel. Please, if you want to speak, please introduce yourself and or 1 second. AG, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's the tiger one.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks.
Hi, my real name is Dan. So hello everyone. So I have two questions, but one was partially already answered by Stefan before. So the first question is for the xDai team. Are you preparing guys some plan B? Like for me, it seems that you are really looking into this proposal to be a success, no, and to merge. And my personal opinion, which I already told Moshmir and other people, is that I'm, as a developer on the xDai chain, I'm also looking into it because, of course, new people coming in, better technology, better marketing, or at least some new marketing, new money for projects and stuff like this. So I'm looking into it, but I also understand the problems of the stakeholders, basically. But the question is, are you guys kind of preparing a plan B? Because if this merge doesn't happen, like, I don't know, I don't see it very good for stake and for the dApps on stake, because there will be a lot of uncertainty around this. So are you preparing some kind of plan B? Do you have something in mind? And yeah, that's the first question, and I will let you ask.
Yeah, thank you for the great question. So Plan B is to operate as it is now, to be how CoinDesk said, a chain for hipsters. So a community-driven chain, not competing with all these high-tier protocols, and be home for projects building on chain, right? So from the day one, xDai was a home for people who were interested in making applications on a network with a stable token, which we found is appealing for many use cases. It doesn't mean that Plan B will not be implemented during Plan A. But this proposal is something that is discussed right now, and it's I think the kind of main point why we're here right now, right? But it's not something that there are multiple proposals from, let's say, different teams, and or if this proposal is not going through, the xDai team will kind of search for another way how to merge with someone and put the same goals, right? We think that xDai and Gnosis partnership is something that is very aligned. We know each other for a long time. We have a partnership for more than a year. During this year, we had something deployed. You have several products deployed by Gnosis team with some exclusive features. If you remember, Gnosis Safe was initially deployed only on xDai, and when multi-chain world started to kick in, it was deployed on other chain, but initially it was deployed exclusively for xDai, besides mainnet, right? Speaking of some other projects which we have very high expectations from, UBI project Circles is also deployed exclusively on xDai. It's not deployed on other chains, and definitely some parts of Gnosis portfolio can have exclusive features on xDai. So that's very important. Besides all these incentive programs, it's very important to have strong partnerships, right? Also, we share the same goals. What we see the future of Ethereum ecosystem. There are many interesting ecosystems around, and every year we have a new one, which should dethrone Ethereum and so on. But we believe in long-term roadmap of Ethereum and want to build something which will stay for years or decades, right? And this is a kind of long-term commitment, and not many people, starting from the beginning, trying to commit themselves for years or even decades, right? Just imagine that you think that you commit yourself for a decade of development, right? And if you think about the ETH2 and having ETH2 as a chain for Ethereum, well, what's the lifetime of ETH2, right? It's like 10 years or so. Not that many people are interested in having such a long commitment with one product. So what is great with regards of our vision of Ethereum is that both our team and the Gnosis team are interested in the success and the future of Ethereum, and that's always been in our vision. And if you look into our products, we're trying to contribute to Ethereum development as much as we can. That's to summarize that. Plan A is what we're supporting from our side, and Plan B is to stay where xDai is right now with the same values as we have. But there is no search for other plans. Okay, what can we do with for example, some other partners? Stefan, do you want to add something? Because I'm saying that we are sharing the same vision, but maybe you disagree with me.
No, I think we have always appreciated the work that Igor and his team did. I think value-wise, but also execution-wise, I think has been a very super strong team. Technical brilliance, but also really fast execution, I think is what is also needed to make this a success. And I think if we partner this with Gnosis, then we will have a much bigger reach for the entire ecosystem, and I think it can be very successful.
I can see we have three new speakers in the chat, so you can introduce yourself, guys, and go ahead with the comments, questions.
Okay, hi guys, I'm Aitor. Firstly, thank you very much for letting me participate here, and I would like to apologize for my English. And I would like to point out that, in my opinion, and I think we all agree, is that xDai community is a very strong community full of crypto enthusiasts. We are thousands of people, and we are a very valuable community. And I would like to point out that I think that we all consider, or most of us consider, that this merger is something beneficial for both Gnosis and xDai network projects. But I think we all agree that a great proportion of the xDai community is not happy at all. And I think that's not beneficial for the merger, because I'm sure, I think that Gnosis will be very happy to onboard all of us, all of the xDai community, and have the community by their side at the merger and at the future Gnosis chain. So I think that having the community happy is quite important in this type of events and proposals. And I think that the Gnosis team should evaluate their proposal, because I think you are like shooting at your own, how to say, at your own shoe. So, sorry, my English is not very good. You are shooting at yourself, because if you have the community angry or disappointed, it will be like something that will have a bad outcome for the possible merger. So I would like to know if you guys from the Gnosis team would be willing to open like a negotiation table, or if you are open to renegotiate the terms about the swap ratio, or if you just don't consider it, and if you don't, there will be other like possible solutions for having the xDai community happy.
So yeah, first of all, I entirely agree with you. It is super. First of all, yeah, the current xDai community is super valuable. Can see you guys are super enthusiastic about xDai, and well, crypto is at least 50% community, probably more like 80% community. So it is super crucial to have the community standing behind this merger. I think my perception so far is also that the community is actually like conceptually for the merger. So I think everyone seems to understand that there's a huge opportunity, and I have seen very few comments about like the idea of becoming Kusama for Ethereum would be not a great idea. So I think everyone is standing behind this, and it seems like the main discussion point really is the token price. And again, like it's kind of what Igor already said. Like this is something that I cannot single-handedly discuss or decide on my own if there should be like another renegotiation. Of course, this can be tried, but I also don't see that there's a lot of room for negotiation. And so, yeah, I think it's more important that everyone understands what the potential upsides are, and everything else I think we have to discuss outside of this call. There's no way we could make any progress on this right now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stefan, for your answer, for your reply. And I would like to ask you what other opportunities or proposals will be open from the Gnosis team in order to have the xDai community happy. For example, I read one guy from the xDai community talking about giving you 50% of the xDai of the stake supply for free, and keeping the 50% of the ownership of the community of the chain of the network. I don't know if you are considering this type of proposals or not.
It sounds like a very good deal, but I think the bigger problem is that this is, again, like one person speaking on behalf of the stake community, and I would be surprised if like the entire stake token holders are standing behind him. So Yeah, I'm not sure how you as a community organize, and if you are able to come to consensus that can be a basis for any negotiation. Yeah, again, I'm also not certain that there is a lot of room for negotiation. I still think my view on the current price ratio is it's a fair proposal. I think there is a very big upside potential for everyone in this. But yeah, if the stake community has a way to clear consensus on what the offer should be, then yeah, it would be good to know this. Again, like there's of course no guarantee that this will proceed. And then there is also the possibility that it will just not happen, obviously.
Yeah, I would like to add that we're here to get ideas, and the idea that you asked, it was presented in the community. Technically, it's possible to mint new stake tokens and allocate it to any Ethereum address, but the economical and feasibility in the reasoning about this should be discussed further. So that's great that we have some ideas coming. Maybe during this discussion and snapshot voting period, we'll get something new. And now I would like to invite Remy from Realty, our prominent community member, to jump in if you want.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. Been listening to the call since the beginning. It's interesting, but I'd like to put aside the price of the stake token for 1 second and speak on the behalf of Realty, obviously, but operating businesses on xDai chain. And we are personally very excited about this merger, as we believe it will bring a lot of activity to the chain, new people, new incentive programs. And it is where we would like it to see going as an operating business on xDai, and looking forward to be working with Gnosis as well in the future.
Thank you so much, Remy. I would like to also welcome Martin from Gnosis DAO, who joined as a speaker now.
Yeah, well, thanks first, Remy, for your comment. I also just wanted to jump in and ask kind of partially answer the previous question about what can be done. And again, fully agree. We want the stake token community or general xDai community, kind of to be well, to be happy or to be part of it, because otherwise this chain will not be successful. It's pretty clear. So concrete question about renegotiation. I would say, or I think from what I can say, and again, I can also say again for Stefan, we also can't decide on our own for Gnosis DAO. Also by Gnosis DAO, we need to go through a process, but still where I do see the easiest room for adjustments are kind of additional concrete kind of program. So there's a fairly vague mentioning of a large chunk of GNO. But one example is if we want to start this new beacon chain, of course that means kind of taking a risk kind of in participating, because similar to Ethereum, where you kind of become a validator and then you basically lock your Ether, and for at least until the merge happens, you can't really get it back, or you can't really get out of it. It will be similar for this beacon chain. So that is definitely also something where we could put a larger number of GNO tokens aside to those who do this important first step, and in a way take that risk. And just saying, kind of those are things I could imagine again, making it concrete for the existing projects to already set aside, explicitly set aside a portion of GNO, kind of for existing concrete projects. So that would be my suggestion to kind of use this additional GNO to kind of be more specific and target also the existing community.
Thank you, Martin. I will just continue on what you just said. I have seen the question regarding the cow and safe token drops, if this can be guaranteed, or you can elaborate more on this. What's your plan with these tokens?
Yeah.
I mean,
okay, Martin, you can take it.
Stefan, please. Yeah, please, Stefan. Go on.
Yeah, so for CowSwap, we have a very concrete proposal. We can post the link in the chat. It's currently being debated on the Gnosis DAO forum, and we hope that this can go to a voting stage very, very soon. And I see so far has been getting very good feedback from all GNO token holders. So I see it as almost pretty much guaranteed this will move ahead. And also in terms of the portion which will go directly and indirectly to GNO token holders, this is also pretty much fixed. So I think we can say with certainty that this is going to happen, and that everyone who has currently staked who would then eventually have GNO would also participate in the CowSwap token distribution. Again, like for the safe, we are not so far yet. The expectation is that in Q1 next year, the safe is ready to do something like the CowSwap team is doing right now. And then obviously also GNO token holders will get a significant portion of those tokens. And so I am almost certain with high certainty this is also going to happen for the safe. And this would obviously benefit everyone.
Yeah, I mean here it's important to understand how things are structured. So both projects essentially currently are in a way owned by Gnosis DAO. So if they want, we currently do think that it is useful for the projects to separate, or kind of become independent. But again, that needs approval of Gnosis DAO, and obviously Gnosis DAO will only approve it, or basically kind of vote for it if it's an interesting deal for GNO token holder. Maybe one more comment because I saw regarding CowSwap, because I saw that Vori in I don't know, some of the forums or discussions I tried to follow was what about the neutrality and whether kind of CowSwap would now be kind of preferred over, let's say, HoneySwap or other solutions on xDai. So first of all, it's important to understand that CowSwap currently does use existing dexes on xDai. So for example, HoneySwap or Swapper or SushiSwap. So CowSwap is in a way an additional layer and kind of not in direct competition with those. But the more important part is, what is important to us is that we definitely think it's a requirement for the chain to be successful, that obviously there is sufficient liquidity, and what that roughly means for us would be that you can swap $100,000 of all the major tokens without any with very small slippage. And yeah, we really think we can kind of make this happen. CowSwap has the advantage that it can integrate or kind of nicely combine on-chain liquidity, on-chain market makers with kind of traditional market makers. So yeah, that's why we think it can be extremely useful for the chain.
Thank you, Martin. Luigi, do you have some additional questions? It seems like you stayed here like
I wanted
go ahead.
I wanted to ask when the beacon chain is planned to go to initiate, and also if there's any chance that the token itself is not like the actual GNO token, but if there's any possibility of being a token that is wrapping both stake and GNO.
Let me answer first. So Beacon Chain is technically it's almost ready for the launch. So we had some modifications in the deposit contract, had it audited by two teams, Gnosis themselves audited and Chain Security audited. So we're pretty sure that the deposit contract is ready for deployment. So we have the testnet working for several months. It's working fine. There are some open questions how to make staking on this beacon chain in case if we use GNO token. So we implemented kind of new idea, what is called meta token. So to keep compatibility with ETH2 and don't change some hard-coded constants like 22 Ether per deposit for a validator. So there is a contract where you can deposit one, let's say one GNO and get 32 meta tokens. So with and also there is a question about emission on this network. What should be inflation rate? And as we know, GNO token is not mintable. Stake is mintable, but GNO is not mintable. So there are some open questions from the like token engineering perspective, how to make it. Most likely, these questions will be resolved because they're not that hard to resolve. That's possible to launch as soon as there is some outcome, right? Just imagine that the merge is happening, then it's going to be launched pretty soon, right? If we have plan B and merge is not happening and stake beacon chain is launching with stake token, also everything is ready for the launch. But the merge itself, when we need to merge xDai into the beacon chain, swap PostDAO consensus to ETH2 consensus and so on, this will take time. That part of the work is not ready yet. Also, the model of this meta token, maybe we need to change this internal name meta because of the Facebook, right? This meta token is allows to make GNO token kind of inflationary on this chain. That's one possibility. So I will not answer about like using of another token for say like a new token, but that's one of the idea that was discussed in the community that one new token can be created and it can be minted by burning of GNO token. And therefore it can be minted by burning of stake token. There can be some mechanics in play. Also, it can make kind of denomination of GNO token because it might make sense to have it in lower digits than it is right now because 3 digits is hard to make decisions to buy for some people. And 4 digits it's even harder, and 5 digits it's only for Bitcoin, and then so on, right? So there are some ideas. It will be great to get those ideas on the table. Technically, it's possible. There are some possible benefits of having this type of kind of new token, which can. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to comment a little bit because like when we had basically worked on the proposal and thought about how this could be done, it was definitely one thing we did consider. Should there be a new token, and kind of if you create a new token, you could even create this, whatever meta token or whatever you want to call it, and potentially you could even think of integrating more projects into it. So you could have, I don't know, 4 or 5, or well, there are a lot of things you can think about. But then there is, of course, there are many practical considerations, and of course also narratives considerations. And one consideration is, of course, that if you make things quite complicated, it is it can it can of course have negative effects. And we do think that Gnosis has a good name, I guess, that it is very well known for the Gnosis Safe. It's very well known for, I guess, security. That basically you can rely on it, and people are relying on kind of in the way the brand Gnosis with hundreds of not hundreds, but literally $100 billion in form of the Gnosis Safe. So we do think that Gnosis has a good brand, or at least a brand that stands for high security and something you can rely on. And therefore, we eventually, we also discussed whether we should use different name or a new name. But in the end, we still landed on Gnosis Chain. And then kind of it would be weird if, there is a Gnosis token, but it's not the token of Gnosis Chain. So I think potentially even the little bit the confusion about, there's xDai, but already, I do remember when early on talking to people, I don't know, other people in the Ethereum community, they still sometimes don't even know that stake is a token that is related to xDai. So in a way, to keep things simple, Gnosis Chain, Gnosis token, that it seems beneficial. Another element, maybe also kind of commenting on this one proposal, where I do kind of understand where it's coming from, and I do see some charm in it, and this 50-50 that kind of this proposal that someone mentioned earlier. But then I also think of kind of just the total value of the token that will be the staking token. If that is high, that also has, of course, substantial benefits, because in the new, or in this beacon chain model, and in a model where xDai team or we were together looking at new bridge designs, then essentially the security or the security of the bridge will be more or less equivalent to the security of the beacon chain. So ideally, we will have a beacon chain that will be worth, or that will kind of soon be worth more than $1 billion, and therefore also have a security that that will translate directly to security assumptions. So just trying to make 2 or 3 arguments for the Gnosis for the GNO token, basically.
I would like to add that if you look into any successful token, you will see a lot of derivatives of this token, right? Just take BTC or ETH. We have ETH in the form of wrapped ETH. This wrapped ETH can be bridged to different chains. We have this wrapped ETH exchanged on, let's say, on xDai, and it can be bridged from mainnet, or it can be theoretically bridged from Binance, right? But at the end of the day, we're considering that it's right. So when we're building derivatives, they can have some new token mechanics, like partial supply, which is partially covered by locked tokens. Therefore, we can create emission model on this token, right? But the main asset for this chain will be for the stake beacon chain, will be GNO token based on this proposal, but the mechanics how this GNO token is actually staked and how it's converted into liquid form by different providers of liquid staking. Just imagine that we have Lido or Stakewise or Rocket Pool supporting GNO token to make liquid token on the on xDai from the staked GNO token, and this token has some some emission on the chain which cannot be withdrawn before the merge and before the activation of withdrawals from merged xDai on the beacon chain, right? So need to have this liquid tokens liquid. So for example, if it's STGNO to GNO, then that creates derivatives and creates possibilities for kind of incentives programs and possibilities of thinking how to launch it and maybe make it more interesting than it's just thinking like, okay, so it's just one GNO which is staked and rewards are kind of coming from where, right? So here we have engineering which can be done on protocols building off top of GNO tokens. That's what I want to add here, right? And Beacon Chain is adding these possibilities because we already have them on kind of these possibilities coming from restrictions that holders of ETH are actually facing when they stake on ETH2, right? Because there are no withdrawals, so therefore we need liquid staking, and this can be very interesting to see how can we make it beneficial to stake on the Beacon chain, and what can be interesting for stakeholders in that case, right? So we can think about some mechanics, not in the exchange rate, but on the what if we add benefits on the layer of staking on the Beacon chain, right? What do you think, Martin or Stefan? Can we think about some engineering for token engineering on the staking part?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that what I tried to mention earlier, that those are the things where I do think there is definitely room to improve the proposal. And specifically, again, we will need. I mean, the chain will be, or we want to upgrade the chain to something that goes beyond the current security model, and that will only work if we have lots of validators. So hopefully, lots of people who are on this call right now running a validator, and again, this will come with some. I mean, Igor mentioned that in the beginning you can't withdraw it until the merge, and again, so for those things we want to, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to put more rewards on top of that, and essentially that kind of means that if you will be, as a lot of GNO token holders will probably not immediately become a validator, it will essentially mean that those who do it get a better rate. That's essentially what it does. In this context, I also want to mention our partnership with DeppNode that we have also been working on for quite a while. And there is a proposal. So those who don't know the project, so DeppNode is an awesome project trying to really have decentralized or validators, or essentially making it easy for someone to run their own full node, including a validator node, on their own physical hardware. And that's also an important part here. So having it run on Amazon is kind of in the cloud is one thing, but of course, really a network is resilient and decentralized if it's run by many individuals in all over the world in different geographic regions on their own physical hardware. So this is definitely something, where we should put in a clever way incentives. And again, that will mean essentially for those who are willing to do this, to, well, set up the hardware, keep it running, have their own validator running, that they will then essentially through those incentives get a better rate.
I would say, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying that in general, like kind of obviously, like any kind of incentive program we're going to launch that will utilize GNO obviously goes to those using this chain, and I think they're obviously stake token holders as owners of this chain and most likely heavy users of this chain will have a significant upside in benefiting from those programs as well.
Thank you, guys. We have one member from the community here, so if you'd like to introduce yourself and ask a question, please feel free to go ahead.
Hello.
Hey.
So, yeah, it's first I just want to say that I'm very happy to be here, and yeah, I want to thank you guys for all the work you did with xDai. It's even though we have our issues here, there is no issue-free place on Earth. It's still a great community, and it's great to be a part of it. Yeah, and I just wanted to use this small opportunity to announce that you'll have one more project on xDai, and it will it's an NFT focused project, and it was formed in OneHive, and we hope it will be a really interesting one. That's all I wanted to say. Just some positive vibes.
Thank you for that. I think we are running for more than 2 hours.
I mean, that just want to say that that's always cool, because I mean that's definitely what this chain should be about. Having new projects that try to do interesting things, and I do think xDai has been an exceptional chain here. I don't think there is. I'm not sure I can talk about all chains, but obviously there has been many chains where essentially where we're just copycats of existing Ethereum projects are living, but xDai has been for a long time a chain with original ideas and original experimentation. Definitely love what the OneHive or I don't know, there are too many projects on xDai to start mentioning one, because then I will be missing others out, but definitely a lot of super interesting projects going on here.
xDai, so after listening to a lot of talk on xDai should just be xDai. Like that's probably the most complicated but healthy way to go forward. I don't know. I'm not very technically inclined, but just being part of this community has helped me, helped other people around me, both online and offline, and it's always good to focus on the positive.
Thanks. We do appreciate that, and we see that continuing regardless of what happens going forward. We've always prided ourselves in having a great community of developers and builders on chain, so appreciate it. Thank you. I think we're hitting up on 2 hours here, so maybe time to start wrapping things up. If there's any other things that anyone wanted to bring up before we came to a close?
Some last thoughts, Luigi or Igor or Gnosis guys, and if not, we can wrap up. Okay, so it seems that we have covered not all, definitely, but a lot of questions today. So thank you everyone for coming. We have recorded the session and we'll post it on our YouTube shortly. So thank you and looking forward to the bright future of xDai.
Thank you everyone for participating.
Thank you. It was a good discussion.